Hello students, we are learning science paper number 2, and in that science paper number 2 we are going to study next lesson, and that next lesson is their lesson number 6 is their animal classification. So science paper number 2 lesson number 6 and name of the lesson is their animal classification. So last year in the 9th standard already you have studied about the classification of plants. Again, why there is need to classify the plants, varieties of the plants are there, varieties of the animals are there in the environment, or you can say on the earth. Innumerable plants, animal species are there on the earth, and it is not easy to remember them. It is not easy to study each and every species. So we have to make some groups and subgroups. According to similarities and according to the differences. So if you are considering some similarities and some differences, and you can classify these organisms into different categories, in different groups. So that one you are saying classification. So what do you mean by classification? Making groups and subgroups of different kinds of animals or different kinds of plants according to similarities and differences observed in them. So this is the definition of that classification. Now we'll go from known things to the unknown things, from a simple to complex we'll move. So we are going to study some points, we'll revise last year some points we are going to revise, and this year some extra points we are going to learn. So first, in the textbook it is given, can you recall? So what is the criteria used for the classification of that particular living organisms? So various kinds of living organisms are there. In that living organism, plants are there, animals are there. Again, one more thing we have studied, Robert Whittaker, he has given 5 kingdom classification system. So Robert Whittaker given 5 kingdom classification system, and in that which kingdoms given by Robert Whittaker, that one will see. First one is there Monera, Protista, Fungi, Plantae and Animalia. Monera, Protista, Fungi, Plantae, Animalia. These are the 5 kingdoms given by the Robert Whittaker. So while doing classification, which criteria is used for the classification of living organisms? So that points we'll see. So first point we'll see criteria for classification of living organisms. First point is the criteria for classification of living organisms. Criteria for the classification of living organisms. So in that we'll see how that Robert Whittaker given 5 kingdom classification system, and in that which points were considered, that one we'll see. So Robert Whittaker given 5 kingdom classification system. Robert Whittaker given 5 kingdom classification system. 5 kingdom classification system. So while doing classification, which points are considered, that one we have to remember. So we have to remember Robert Whittaker 5 kingdom classification system. But which criteria were used for the classification of the living organisms? In that we'll see in detail. First one is the structure of the cell. You are knowing cell is the basic structural and functional unit of life. Cell is the basic structural and functional unit of life, and in that which cell organelles are present, whether nucleus is present or nucleus is absent. So according to this one, structure of the cell, in that organisms are classified into prokaryotic and eukaryotic. So first one is the structure of the cell. Structure of the cell. Structure of the cell. In that structure of cell, first thing is there whether that cell is prokaryotic or eukaryotic. So in that structure of cell, we'll see which classification is given. Whether that organism is there prokaryotic or eukaryotic. So what is meant by prokaryotic and what is meant by eukaryotic? So see, prokaryotic cell means the cell which is not having well developed nucleus and nuclear membrane, and all the cell organelles are not present. That cell is called as a prokaryotic cell. So in that, cell without nucleus, cell without nucleus and a nuclear membrane, and some cell organelles. So some cell organelles are also not present there. Cell without nucleus and nuclear membrane, and some cell organelles. So without nucleus, this word is important. Eukaryotic cell, what is meant by eukaryotic cell? It is a cell, it is having well developed nucleus and nuclear membrane, as well as all the cell organelles are present. So it is having well developed nucleus, it is having well developed nucleus, nuclear membrane, and all cell organelles. All cell organelles are present. Which cell organelles are there? Endoplasmic reticulum is there, Golgi complex is there, mitochondria is there, again a nucleus is there, vacuoles are there, lysosomes are there, plastids are there. These are the cell organelles. So in the eukaryotic organisms or in eukaryotic cell, all these cell organelles are present, as well as well developed nucleus is present. Second criteria used for the classification, that criteria is their structure of organisms. Structure of organisms. Now in the structure of organism, either that organism is unicellular or multicellular. What is there? Either that organism is there unicellular or multicellular. So unicellular or multicellular organisms. So how these are classified? Unicellular organism may be there or multicellular organisms may be there. So unicellular organisms, they are having single cell. You can say only one cell is there. So those organisms which are having only one cell or single cell, these are called as unicellular organisms. And multicellular organisms, in that these are having more than one cell. Many cells are there in the multicellular organism. Then third point we are going to consider for the classification, and that one is their cell wall. Either cell wall is present or absent. So cell wall, either cell wall is present in that organism or in that cell, or it is absent. So cell wall you will consider in that cell wall is present or absent. Organisms are classified according to cell wall is present or cell wall absent. Cell wall absent. So in that, if cell wall is present, then which organisms are there having cell wall? So that organisms are there, two are there. First one is there fungi, fungus is there, and second one is there plants. So fungi and plants, these are their cells are having cell wall. They are having cell wall, and cell wall is absent. In that, you can give animals or animal cell, you can say animal cell. In that, cell wall is absent. Cell wall is absent. So this one is the criteria for the classification, and again one more criteria is there. Now these 3 points you have to write down, and after this I am going to give fourth point, which is considered for the classification of the living organisms. So I will drop first 2 points. So that fourth point or fourth criteria for the classification is the mode of nutrition. Fourth criteria is the mode of nutrition. So which is the mode of nutrition? In generally, or you have already studied from 7th standard that autotrophic mode of nutrition, heterotrophic mode of nutrition is there. So according to mode of nutrition, that organisms are classified. So fourth criteria for the classification is their mode of nutrition. Fourth one is their mode of nutrition. So what do you mean by nutrition? Already we have studied in the lesson number 2nd. In that we have studied nutrition, nutrients, and in 7th standard also you have studied. So mode of nutrition. So what is mean by mode of nutrition? It is the mode or way of consumption of food, way of obtaining food. Either they are synthesizing their own food, or they are dependent on other living organisms for the food. So in that, 2 modes of nutrition are there. First one is there autotrophic mode of nutrition, or it is heterotrophic mode of nutrition. Heterotrophic mode of nutrition. So whether that organism is autotrophic or heterotrophic. In that autotrophic, example you can give green plants. Green plants are the autotrophic because they are having chlorophyll and they can synthesize their own food. They are having chlorophyll, and that's why they can do photosynthesis and they can synthesize their own food. Next thing is their heterotrophic mode of nutrition. In that, different modes of nutrition are there. We'll see how that organisms are classified. So according to the mode of nutrition. So in that heterotrophic, herbivores are there, carnivores are there, omnivores are there, scavengers are there, insectivores are there, again decomposers are there. So many are there. According to mode of nutrition, herbivores are there, then carnivores are there. Carnivores, then that primary, secondary, tertiary are there. The next thing is the herbivores, carnivores. Again one more mode of nutrition is there. Omnivores are there. Omnivores. After that, scavengers are there. Scavengers. Again next mode of nutrition is there. Insectivores. Insectivorous plants are there. Insectivorous and saprotrophs. And some are insectivorous or insectivorous. So these are the different modes of nutrition. We'll give one example of each. So what are the different modes of nutrition? First one is the herbivores. Which are the herbivores? Which depend directly on the plants for their food. And here you can give example: goat. Goat is there, deer is there, goat is there, deer is there. Again, in case of carnivores, you can give example here: lion, tiger is there, fox is there, wolf is there. The next, omnivores, in that human beings are there. Scavengers, in that vulture is there, vultures. Crow is there. Saprotrophs, in that you can give example: fungi is the saprotroph. Again, mold is there, molds. Fungus is there, molds is there. Again, you can give insectivorous, in that plants are there, insectivorous. So you can give example: Venus flytrap, Venus flytrap. Again, Drosera is there. These are the, and at last, decomposers are also there. Decomposers. And which are decomposers? You can give some bacteria and fungi. These are decomposers. Bacteria and fungi, these are decomposers. So like this way, according to mode of nutrition, you can do the classification of the living organisms. So these are the criteria which are used for the classification of the living organisms. These are the modes, or these are the criteria for the classification of the living organisms. Now after this, how these criteria were used? So one thing I will tell here, I think in the saprotrophs. Saprotrophs means those organisms which depend upon, they are obtaining their food from dead and decaying organic matter. They are obtaining their food from dead and decaying organic matter. Now after this, next point we are going to study classification of living organisms, and these points will classification will write according to 5 kingdom classification system. So I will draw this one. Robert Whitaker's 5 kingdom classification I am going to give now. 5 kingdom classification system. We'll draw that particular chart here, and examples also we'll see of that particular living organisms, how these are classified, and in which 5 kingdom these organisms are classified. That one we'll see. So five kingdom classification. 5 kingdom classification. Of living organisms. Of living organisms. Of living organisms. 5 kingdom classification of living organisms. So we'll see. At the top we'll write living organisms. Living organisms. So in that, 2 groups again we are going to make, and that 2 groups are there. First one is the prokaryotic. Prokaryotic, Ka. So prokaryotic, in that. So what is prokaryotic? Already we have seen these cells or these organisms, they are not having well developed nucleus and nuclear membrane. So prokaryotic, in that kingdom is there. One kingdom is there. Kingdom Monera. Kingdom is there. Monera. And in this Monera, examples are there. All bacteria and blue green algae, or also you can say cyanobacteria. Blue green algae, to them you can say cyanobacteria. Cyanobacteria. So all bacteria are coming into the prokaryotic and they are coming into the Monera, kingdom Monera. So after this, to the right side we are going to classify, and in that they are eukaryotic. They are eukaryotic. Eukaryotic. So eukaryotic organisms, and in that eukaryotic organisms, again classification is there. So in that first way is there unicellular and multicellular. Next one is there either they are unicellular, or they are multicellular. So unicellular, they are having single cell. Multicellular, they are having many cells, more than one cell. So unicellular, in that one kingdom is there, and that kingdom is there kingdom Protista. Kingdom is there Protist or Protista. So in this, which organisms are coming? For example, we'll take, and that these are what you can say amoeba, paramecium, euglena, plasmodium. So these are the examples. Amoeba is there, paramecium is there, euglena is there, and plasmodium, and plasmodium is causing malaria. These are coming into the Protista. And one more thing is there, in case of the multicellular organism, these are again classified into two groups. One thing we'll do, these are again classified into two groups. Which that two groups are there? First one is there with cell wall, and another one is there without cell wall. With cell wall, and here another one is there without cell wall. With cell wall and without cell wall. So in the with cell wall, again two are there. With cell wall, again two are there, and that two are there autotrophic and heterotrophs. So autotrophs. So which are the autotrophs in that kingdom is there? Now kingdom Plantae. Autotrophs in that kingdom is there Plantae, and example is there all green plants, and algae also you can give example. Algae, all green plants and algae. And in case of the heterotrophs, in that heterotrophs classification is there, kingdom is there, one more kingdom is there, kingdom fungi, and here example is there, in case of the kingdom fungi, example is there mushroom is there, yeast is there, and molds. Mushroom, yeast, and a mold. So these are the examples of heterotrophs, in that fungi is there. And one more is there, in that kingdom Animalia is there, and Animalia, these are heterotrophs only. Here also without cell wall, in that animals are there. Or here also these are heterotrophs, and in that one kingdom is there kingdom Animalia. Animalia. So in that Animalia, example is there, all animals are there. So all animals are coming into example. You can give goat is there, human beings are there, these are the examples of the Animalia. So how many kingdoms are there? First kingdom is there Monera, second kingdom is there Protista, third kingdom is there Plantae. Suppose third kingdom is there Plantae, fourth kingdom is there Fungi, kingdom Fungi, fifth kingdom is there Animalia. So this one was given by Robert Whittaker. Five kingdom system classification was given by Robert Whittaker. So after this, one more point is there. Can you recall? Can you tell? And in that last year's plant classification is asked. So how plants are classified? So in a quick review, we'll take that one. So this one you have to write point wise. So after this, we are going to study about plant classification. How plants are classified. So in short, we will see that one classification because it was in the last year 9th standard it was there. So how that plants are classified, which criteria was used for the classification of the plants. So that points we'll see. Criteria for plant classification. So very first I will tell which criteria was there in case of a plant classification. Can you recall? Can you tell in that it is asked? So in case of the plant classification, which points are considered, which criteria used for the classification? That criteria is there. In short, we'll take criteria. So in that first one is there whether it is having all body parts are there or not. All body parts are there or not, present or absent. On that it is also classified. In that which parts are there? Root is there, stem is there, then leaves are there, flowers are there, and fruits. Root, stem, leaves, flower, fruit. These are the parts of the plant. Second one is the vascular tissue. Vascular tissues. In that which vascular tissues are the conductive tissue? Either xylem and phloem. Xylem we have studied. It is carrying, transporting water and minerals, and phloem it is transporting food. Then third point is there. In case of plant classification, either they are flowering or non-flowering plants. Flowering or non-flowering plants. Fourth one is there. Either they are bearing seed or not. Having seeds or not having seeds. So having seeds or not having seeds. Fifth one is there. If they are having seeds, then how many cotyledons? Monocotyledonous or dicotyledonous. Either they are monocotyledonous or dicotyledonous. So according to this, these are the criteria used for the classification of plant. So one review will see plant classification, this one you can write. Then next thing, how that plants are classified, that one we'll see. So plants are classified into two main groups, and these are cryptogams and phanerogams. So plant classification, in that two classifications are there. One is there cryptogams, and here is there phanerogams. Phanerogams. So cryptogams not having all body parts and seeds. They are not having seeds, they are not having all body parts, even they are not having flowers. All body parts, flowers and seeds. Phanerogams, they are having all body parts, flowers and seeds. So flowers are the reproductive part. We have studied flower is the reproductive part of the plant. So again, that cryptogams, these are classified into three divisions. So in that first one is there Thallophyta. Thallophyta is there. In that example you can give Spirogyra. Spirogyra. Again here Spirogyra is there. Second one is there Bryophyta. Bryophyta. And in that Bryophyta you can give example Chara. Again next, in case of the Pteridophyta. Pteridophyta. Also here you can give example Funaria. Chara and Funaria. So again, in case of the Pteridophyta, example is there. Here example ferns, Nephrolepis. And in case of the phanerogams, again there is classification. We can give classification here. So one thing you can do here. First one is there cryptogams. Sorry, you can say gymnosperms. Gymnosperms are there. Example you can give here Cycas. Cycas is there. Example. And here seeds are open seeds. Not enclosed into the fruit. Not in fruit. Seeds are open. And here, in case of the angiosperms, these are flowering plants. And in this example is there mango. Again mango tree you can give example. Okay, so in that angiosperm, again they are classified into monocot and dicot. And here dicot. So here we will not give example, directly here dicot. Monocot example is there maize. Maize is the example. Dicot in that mango example will give mango. You can give example banyan tree, and maize. Also you can give here example banana tree. So these are the angiosperms. In that seeds are in fruits. Seeds are present in the fruits. Seeds are present in the fruits. So like this way, and seeds are covered in the covering of the fruit. So this one is the classification in case of the plants. So we have this year we have to focus on the animal classification only. We have to focus only on animal classification. So after this we are going to study next point, diversity in the animals. Diversity in the animals and why there is need to classify the organisms or animals. So diversity in animals. What do you mean by diversity? So various kinds of animals are present on the earth, and these animals and they are having variation in their size, variation is there in their shape, as well as they are having variation in their food, habitat, food. So these points are the we are going to consider while classifying the living organisms. So diversity in animals. So what do you mean by diversity? We'll see. Diversity in animals. Which diversity is there, that one will see. So innumerable animal species are there on the earth. So diversity in animals, in that we are knowing various kinds of animals are present on the earth. They are present from the bottom of the sea to the top of the mountain. Various kinds of animals are present on the earth, and these are present from bottom of the sea to the top of the peak of the mountain. Okay, they are present from desert to the polar regions. From desert to the polar regions. So see, in case of diversity, some animals are too small, some animals are so much big, too big. Some are too small, some are too big. Second one is there, some animals are terrestrial, some animals are aquatic. Some are found in desert, some are found in polar regions. Another thing is there, some animals are there that are crawling on the ground. Some are swimming in water and some are flying into the air. Some are crawling on the ground, some are swimming in water, and some are flying into the air. Again, one more point is there in case of the skin. So some animals are having scales on their skin. Scales are there, skin is scaly. Some are there, they are having feathers on their skin, on their body. Some are having hairs on their body. Some are having hairs on their body. And according to the recent studies, okay, according to the recent research or studies, there are near about, or approximately you can say, 7 million species of animals are found. How many million? 7 million species of animals are found on the earth. Okay, and it is not easy to remember all these animal species. It is not possible to study each and every living organism or each and every animal species. So because of that, we have to classify these organisms for keeping them or studying them very well, to remember them and to classify them. For that we have to make some groups and subgroups. So what do you mean by classification? So formation of groups and subgroups, or making the groups and subgroups of the animals or plants. Making groups and subgroups of the plants or animals according to similarities and differences among them. Okay, making groups and subgroups of the plants and animals depending upon similarities and differences among them. It is called as a classification. So diversity in animals, in that, see, first point is there. What type of diversity is there? First thing you can say, innumerable animal species. Animal species are found on the earth, are found on the earth. Next thing is there, some animals are too small. Some animals are too small and some are too big. Some are microscopic, some are so much big. Third point is there, some animals, they are terrestrial. Some animals are terrestrial. Some are aquatic. Some are found in desert and some are found in polar regions. The next fourth point is there. In that fourth point, some animals, they crawl on the ground, some are swimming in water and some are flying into the air. Some animals crawl on the ground, some swim into water, some swim into water, and some animals are flying into air. They are flying into air. Next point of difference is there, depending upon skin or outer skeleton, or you can say morphologically. So skin of some animals is scaly, or scaly. Some animal skin have feathers. Some animals skin have hairs. So this one is the diversity: feathers, hairs, scales. And because of this, so according to recent research or studies, so you can say according to recent studies, there are about approximately 7 million species of or plant species. 7 million 7 million animal species on the earth. And because of that, there is need to classify the living organism. Because of all these reasons, there is need to classify the living organisms. We'll write one definition of the classification. So diversity in living organism, this one is the diversity. So next thing, I am going to give definition of that particular classification. Definition. Classification, in that definition is there. What is the definition? Formation of groups and subgroups of plants and animals. Formation of groups and subgroups of plants and animals depending upon similarities and differences. Similarities and differences among them is called classification. So what do you mean by classification? It may be plant classification or it may be animal classification, but the definition is same. Formation or making groups and subgroups of the plants and animals depending upon similarities and differences among them. It is called as a classification. It may be plant classification or it may be animal classification. So next part we'll see in next video.